I wanted to take, in the last couple of minutes, because we had such a great opportunity to be able to speak with you about this. We've been, since we launched the show pretty recently, we're sort of trying to figure out how the lefts and socials can organize all across this country and do real left-wing politics, not just having the right opinions, but actually building the power to do things, right? Because there's been a lot of people on the left who have had good opinions for a long time. What matters is building that power to implement those ideas. You've been around in this city council for a significant amount of time, pre-Bernie, pre this Bernie movement that brought so many people into the socialist movement or thinking about themselves as socialists. Could you talk about that relationship between like the political office itself and the on the ground movements that have been built up in Seattle?
Absolutely. When we first ran for office in 2013, and as you said, it was pre-Bernie, though it has to be mentioned, of course, that the Bernie Sanders campaign captured the imagination of tens of millions of people around the country. We want campaigns of that scale where ordinary people can feel that, yes, I can have a role in actually shaping the collective future that we need. And the message of the political revolution against the billionaire class just spoke to so many people. It also shows the potential of how we can win over many Trump voters who are voting because they are just angry at corporate politics as a whole, not because they have been completely won over to some right-wing ideology. And so when we ran in 2013, we, through the conventional democratic, political campaign, hire a consultant, whatever, rule book out the window. We ran as a genuinely working class campaign. And that was virtually unheard of in our generations. And in fact, this is happening, Seattle's a socialist was elected in Seattle first socialist, elected in 100 years. So that gives you a certain time scale of how many generations have gone by. And what we did was we said, this is a campaign that wants to organize working people around concrete demands, and we want to win. We have a strategy to win for $15 an hour minimum wage in Seattle, to tax the rich and big business, and to to have rent control and a bill of renters' rights for the city. And we were running as a socialist. At that time, it was in the wake of our participation in the Occupy movement. We helped lead the Occupy movement in Seattle. And it was clear to us that there was a real opening for the left. And when we first ran, we had no idea that we would win. And that also itself is educational for the left. I think we have to run campaigns because we cannot see building the left as broken up into little chunks of election campaigns that should be run only if you know that you're going to win. There's no such thing. And furthermore, if you're easily winning, then you're not actually representing working people. And I want to come back to that point in a second. But when we ran, we believed correctly, and certainly history has proved us correct in spades, that there was an opening for a $15 an hour demand and that people were angry. Occupy movement showed that ordinary people are looking for a strategy to fight back. It's a question of getting organized. It's not that there is any lack of anger on the ground. And so when we raised $15 an hour, many of the union leaders who were actually themselves fighting for $15 an hour in a neighboring small city where the airport is located, SeaTac, they didn't like that we were raising it because they had so little confidence in the working class embracing fighting demands. And they kept telling us, you should not raise it, don't do it. But we didn't agree with them, obviously. And what happened was the members of these unions drifted to us immediately and said, I agree with this. I want to fight for this. In fact, there were so many union members who told us, I already make more than $15 an hour thanks to my union. I want to make sure other workers also are brought to at least $15 an hour, not only because it's a social justice issue, but because I know that the best protection for what I have is when other workers also win victories. It's an understanding, very, very important fundamental understanding of what solidarity in the working class means. It shows you that an injury to one is an injury to all, and that the best way to protect myself is to fight for you also against the ruling class. That's our common enemy, the billionaires, Amazon, Jeff Bezos, who have benefited so handsomely while impoverishing the rest of us, while making sure that the rents are soaring high. We have a stake in fighting together. And so that was a very important political sort of principle that guided everything we did. And we were able to shake things up so much that not only did we win the election, it immediately put the political establishment, the Democratic establishment, on notice. And just to explain to your viewers, I say the Democratic establishment because there is no Republican establishment to speak of in this city. For God knows how many decades, Seattle has been absolutely controlled by the Democratic establishment. So it forced the Democratic establishment to take on the question of 15, but they tried to do it in such a way that they thought that they could just engineer a coalition that, so-called coalition that included labor and me and big business together so that they could water it down and take it away from us. What we did is a very important education in how struggle should be conducted, where we refused to be marginalized or isolated, but we also refused to sell out. And the way we did that was by understanding that my ability to shift politics as an elected representative of working people does not come from trying to do my best in these inner circle, behind the scenes discussions and committees or whatever behind the camera that are off camera, but really by turning outward and bringing the power of social movements into the fore. And so while I was part of these committees, which they couldn't keep us out of because that's how much we had created momentum around 15, what we did alongside that was we built the grassroots 15 Now campaign. And Socialist, Alternative, and I, alongside a few progressive labor unions, we launched the 15 Now movement. And that movement had a fighting edge to it. We marched on the streets. We had a very strategic view of where we did not let the establishment get the upper hand at any time. And bottom line, the tactic that was the secret to our victory was we launched a grassroots ballot initiative that became a credible threat to the establishment. Basically, the message from us from 15 Now was, if city council Democrats do not pass $15 an hour in city hall chambers, we will take it to the voters directly and we will win a stronger 15. And so I think that the value of building such a strong organization and strategy through a democratically organized movement, I think I could not possibly overemphasize it. It's so crucial. That was also the backbone behind winning the Tax Amazon campaign, which we won last summer during the Black Lives Matter protests. Once again, we had a ballot initiative, credible ballot initiative threat. And this is very important, especially in today's context, because at that time, some of the leaders in the movement, including some DSA leaders, were unfortunately saying, well, some people are saying this is not a Black issue, Tax Amazon is not a Black issue, we should not be raising it. But we said, look, let's not talk amongst ourselves. Let's go to the people. Let's see what the people are saying. And it was incredible. In 20 days of the protests, we collected 20,000 signatures at the protest. And people were literally grabbing the clipboard from us saying, hell yeah, I want to tax Amazon. And that's another tactical question that we proved other leaders wrong on, which is that many of the leaders in the movement did, genuine, well-meaning people, but they are, but this is to be highlighted. A lot of well-meaning leaders, including well-meaning elected officials, will be reluctant to have a head-on battle with the ruling class, with big business, because they think that that's not what's going to win. That's actually going to sink the ship. But the reality could not be more of the opposite than what they're saying. In fact, so these leaders, they hated that we called it the Amazon tax because they thought we wouldn't win on that basis. But that is precisely what allowed us to win, because when people were grabbing the clipboards from us, what they were angry about was Amazon. They know how these billionaires have, benefited from this city at their detriment, to their detriment. They wanted to tax Amazon. So it was anger against Amazon that was really fueling the energy. And so all of these tactics are important. But at the end of the day, the moral of the story is you have to organize ordinary people and convert that into a credible threat against the establishment.
Yeah, well, I mean that's very well said, and so many really important lessons. And I really just have to thank you so much for joining us today. Please, we'll be sure to share information of people how they can get involved and help out, and hope to be able to talk to you again sometime in the future.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kshama.